Imagine for a moment just that crushing weight of dread
Yeah.
settling over you.
Yeah.
The world goes silent, maybe after a verdict that just steals your breath and your senses. They start abandoning you one by one. That feeling of everything spiraling into this terrifying unknown.
It's a chilling thought.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're plunging into a classic of psychological horror and, well, endurance. Edgar Allan Poe's The Pit and the Pendulum. Our sources are the chilling words from the audiobook transcript you've provided, giving us this direct window into the narrator's mind.
And our mission for this deep dive is really to unpack the sheer terror, but also the ingenious desperation of this man condemned by the Spanish Inquisition.
Right.
We'll explore how Poe uses, well, every sensory detail, every facet of mental torment to craft this unforgettable, really visceral experience for the reader and for us today, too.
Yeah, this story is just a masterclass in how fear, survival, and maybe the human spirit respond under, like, extreme duress. What can it teach you about the dark corners of the mind? Let's dive deep into the source.
Okay.
So Poe immediately throws us into the narrator's mind, right? Capturing that dizzying onset of unconsciousness right after the death sentence.
Yeah, it's instant. His senses rapidly fail. The judge's voices, they blur into this dreamy, indeterminate hum, giving him the idea of revolution, like the world is turning upside down.
It's this profound psychological unmooring, isn't it? Not just physically collapsing.
Absolutely. And what's really striking is how Poe uses this sensory breakdown to, well, heighten the horror. The narrator's vision, though it's failing, it then sharpens with this terrible exaggeration on the judge's lips.
Oh, yeah, the description there.
They appear white, whiter than the sheet, thin even to grotesqueness, betraying this immovable resolution of stern contempt of human torture. He sees them writhe with a deadly locution forming his name, but he hears nothing.
No sound. That silence after seeing their lips move, it's chilling. Really amplifies his isolation.
And then the imagery shifts, right, from that sort of clinical observation to, like, vivid hallucination. 7 tall candles on the table.
Right, the candles, first they seem like slender angels, offering hope.
A flicker of it. But then this deadly nausea takes hold, and they twist into meaningless specters with heads of flame. That tiny bit of imagined salvation is just crushed.
Utterly. And then the idea of sweet rest in the grave kind of steals into his mind gently and stealthily, just before consciousness is finally swallowed by the blackness of darkness.
And Poe doesn't just describe fainting, does he? He really explores it as this unique state, almost a philosophy of the swoon. The narrator insists, all is not lost, even in the grave.
Yeah, which pushes us to question the very definition of consciousness, like how it persists, or maybe fractures, right at the edge of oblivion.
It's a fascinating idea. He talks about 2 stages of returning from a swoon. First, the mental or spiritual, then the physical existence.
And Poe sort of hints, doesn't he, that if we could recall the impressions of that first stage, we might glimpse memories of the gulf beyond. These vague, dreamlike images, like strange palaces and wildly familiar faces and colds that glow.
Exactly. And the return to memory for the narrator, it's fragmented, it's piecemeal. These shadows of memory tell him indistinctly of tall figures that lifted and bore me in silence, down, down, still down.
Down, down, still down.
Terrifying.
To a hideous dizziness coupled with this vague horror at my heart on account of that heart's unnatural stillness.
Yeah.
The fact he can't feel his heartbeat is as terrifying as the descent itself.
It's this gradual, awful reassembly of reality, forcing you, the listener, to grapple with just how unstable perception can be. So from that dark abyss of unconsciousness, our narrator wakes up into absolute blackness.
Total darkness.
His memory of the trial floods back, but in that oppressive dark, his greatest fear isn't seeing horrors. It's nothing to see at all, right? And that initial sensory deprivation is, I think, key to Poe's psychological torture here. When his eyes finally open, his fears are confirmed. The blackness of eternal night encompassed me. The atmosphere is intolerably close, suffocating. He tries to figure out his condition, recalling inquisitorial proceedings, thinking, Toledo's dungeons usually had stone floors and light was not altogether excluded.
So this is different. This is worse.
Immediately tells him he's in something far worse, yeah. A place designed for, well, maximum psychological impact.
Driven by this agony of suspense, he forces himself up, trembling, thrusting his arms wildly above and around me. Then his hands hit something solid, a wall.
Stone masonry, very smooth, slimy, and cold. And the fact that it's so uniform, that smooth surface, makes mapping his prison really difficult in the dark.
But what's fascinating is how his rational mind, even in that terror, tries to impose some order, right?
Yeah, the ingenuity.
His solution. He tears a fragment from his coarse serge wrapper, his robe, and places it at full length and at right angles to the wall to mark his starting point.
It speaks volumes, doesn't it?
Yeah.
About the human need to define and understand even in the most dire circumstances. It's like this defiant act of intellect against absolute chaos.
But his first try at mapping this place, it's fraught with problems, miscalculations. He stumbles, he falls asleep from excessive fatigue.
And wakes up to find a loaf and a pitcher with water beside him. They're watching. They know he's awake.
Definitely. He continues the circuit, eventually finds the rag. His count suggests the dungeon is maybe 50 yards around, but the many angles make him suspect it's not a simple shape. There's some irregularity.
And this is where the true, insidious horror of the prison starts to reveal itself. He decides to cross the center, proceeding with extreme caution because the floor is just treacherous with slime.
You can just feel the tension.
Then bang, he trips on the torn hem of his robe and falls violently on my face.
And in that fall, this critical, startling detail emerges. His chin is on the floor, but his lips and the upper portion of my head touch nothing.
Nothing, open space.
Ah.
His forehead is bathed in a clammy vapor, and there's that peculiar smell of decayed fungus. He reaches out,
Shuddering,
to find himself right at the very brink of a circular pit. He drops a stone fragment, hears it echo for many seconds, then that sullen plunge into water. Deep.
It's a horrifying confirmation. This is what they plan. He realizes he just narrowly escaped death by falling.
Right, and that means he was reserved for something else, for hideous moral horrors over direst physical agonies. The sudden flash of light and the sound of a door confirm his captors are observing him.
He gets it now. Sudden extinction of life formed no part of their most horrible plan. They wanted to prolong the suffering, didn't they? Both physical and psychological. Push him to the absolute limit.
The ultimate thule, the furthest, most extreme limit of human endurance.
Exactly. Just when you think the horrors can't get any worse. They do. Our narrator is about to face this new, mechanical terror. The descending pendulum.
After another likely drug sleep.
Yeah, he suspects the water.
He wakes up, and the reality is totally changed. Now there's light, this wild, sulfurous luster, and his prison looks much smaller.
Way smaller. The circuit is now 25 yards, not 50. He realizes his confusion earlier, the fatigue, it led him to retrace his steps, basically doubling his count. His mind played tricks on him in the dark.
And this shift in perception once the light comes on is brilliant, isn't it? He was deceived not just about the size, but the shape, too. What he thought was masonry, stone, now appears to be iron or some other metal in huge plates. The angles were just slight depressions or niches. The prison is actually square.
Iron walls. Okay, that's ominous.
And the decor. The walls are rudely daubed with these hideous and repulsive devices. Figures of fiends, skeleton forms, their colors now faded and blurred from the dampness. It creates this truly hellish environment, designed just to amplify the terror.
And his own situation has changed dramatically, too. He's now lying upon my back and at full length on a species of low framework of wood, completely bound.
Securely bound by a long strap resembling a surcingle. Like a wide saddle strap, yeah. Leaving only his head and my left arm free.
And the water pitcher, gone. Replaced by an earthen dish of meat, pungently seasoned.
Ah, the seasoned meat. The design is clear. Stimulate his intolerable thirst. It's another calculated layer of torment. Cruel.
So if we connect this to the bigger picture of the Inquisition's methods...
We see a shift, right? From the unknown terror of the pit to this precisely calculated slow agony. Looking up, 30 or 40 feet overhead, his eyes fix on this singular figure painted on the ceiling. A figure of time.
But not holding a scythe.
No, holding a huge pendulum. This isn't just a physical threat, it's a masterstroke of psychological terror. It's this omnipresent countdown.
And the pendulum, at first it seems still, but the narrator fancied that I saw it in motion, and that fancy quickly becomes reality. Its initial sweep was brief and, of course, slow.
Barely moving. But after maybe half an hour, its sweep had increased in extent by nearly a yard, its velocity much greater, and, most terrifyingly, it had perceptibly descended.
Oh, God. Inch by inch.
This incremental, almost imperceptible increase. It's not just a physical threat. It's a masterclass in psychological torture. Poe knew that the slow, drawn-out anticipation of horror can be far more debilitating than a sudden shock.
And the pendulum itself.
Its nether extremity is a crescent of glittering steel about a foot in length, keen as that of a razor, massy and heavy, and it was hissing as it swung through the air.
Hissing! That sound.
Yeah, this is not a quick death. It's meant to be a milder destruction.
Yeah.
A slow, agonizing journey towards madness, really.
The relentless approach of that pendulum, its methodical descent. It's almost unbearable just reading it. Our narrator endures long, long hours of horror, counting the rushing vibrations of the steel inch by inch, line by line.
He describes the acrid breath and the odor of the sharp steel as it swept closer. It's a total sensory assault.
And his mind is just pushed to the brink. He wearied heaven with my prayer for its more speedy descent, then grew frantically mad, struggling against his bonds.
But then he just fell suddenly calm and lay smiling at the glittering death as a child at some rare bauble. This shift from frantic terror to this detached, almost insane calm, it highlights the psychological breaking point Poe's exploring, the mind's desperate attempt to cope with the utterly unbearable.
And the pendulum itself, vibrating at right angles to my length, it's designed to cross the region of the heart, first fraying his robe before,
Before penetrating. And the mental torture is so meticulous, he forces himself to ponder frivolity, at the sound of the crescent on the cloth, the peculiar thrilling sensation.
Yeah, until my teeth were on edge. It's this grotesque form of self-torture, focusing on the tiny details of his impending death. Just awful.
But it's remarkable, isn't it? This keen, collected calmness of despair, even as the steel vibrates within 3 inches of my bosom. Poe calls it hope. The hope that triumphs on the rack, that whispers to the death condemned even in the dungeons of the Inquisition.
Is it really hope, though? Or is it, like you said, a psychological break? A coping mechanism that's beyond what we normally think of as hope? What do you think that really represents?
That's the question Poe leaves us with, I think. But what stands out is his sudden, brilliant realization about the binding.
Ah, the surcingle. He notices it's a single strap, not separate cords.
Right, so if it's severed in one place,
It might be unwound from my person by means of my left hand, which is free. But the risk is immense. The slightest struggle near that razor-like crescent would be fatal.
he manages to lift his head just enough to confirm the surcingle, envelop my limbs and body close in all directions, save in the path of the destroying crescent. It's this narrow, terrifying path to freedom, born from sheer desperation.
And the ingenuity of despair really kicks in now, doesn't it? Leading to this, well, loathsome, almost unthinkable escape.
An unformed half of an idea about deliverance flashes in his mind. It connects to the food he'd lifted to his lips earlier.
The seasoned meat.
And he remembered the rats, literally swarming around his framework. Wild, bold, ravenous, their red eyes glaring.
Oh no! I know where this is going. In a horrifying stroke of ingenuity, he uses that oily and spicy meat from the dish to attract the rats, smearing it all over the binding.
Lying breathlessly still, he has to endure the swarm as they eagerly gnaw at the surcingle.
It's a moment of just utter revulsion, but incredible courage, too. Hundreds upon my person, he describes. Avoiding its strokes, they busy themselves with the anointed bandage.
They writhed upon my throat. Their cold lips sought my own. He's half stifled by their thronging pressure, feeling this disgust for which the world has no name.
Yet, with more than human resolution, he lies still, enduring this absolutely vile act.
And that it works. He plainly perceived the loosening of the bandage, knowing it must be severed. The pendulum is still descending, cutting through his robe, his linen, bringing a sharp sense of pain.
But then, with a wave of his hand, the rats scatter. He slid from the embrace of the bandage. He's free.
Free, and in the grasp of the Inquisition. A freedom that offers only the briefest reprieve before the next, even more twisted agony begins.
Right, because the pendulum, that hellish machine, it just stops. It's drawn up by some invisible force through the ceiling.
A moment of relief,
Baby.
but it's quickly replaced by this new, chilling fear. He realizes he's escaped death in one form of agony to be delivered unto worse than death in some other.
And he knows with terrifying certainty that his every motion was undoubtedly watched. They saw his escape.
Poe never lets his characters find lasting comfort, does he? Always a new, unexpected layer of torment. The source of that earlier sulfurous luster, the light, is now revealed. It's a fissure about half an inch in width, extending entirely around the prison at the base of the walls, separating them completely from the floor.
A gap at the bottom. Why?
Well, this seemingly minor detail sets the stage for a terrifying transformation. It shifts the threat from vertical, the pendulum, to horizontal compression.
Oh. And this moment holds another critical, startling detail: the paintings on the wall.
Yeah, the faded and blurred colors of those fiendish portraitures on the iron walls, they now assume this startling and most intense brilliancy. Demon eyes glared upon me in 1,000 directions where none had been visible before, glowing with the lurid luster of a fire that I could not force my imagination to regard as unreal.
It's becoming an oven, a total sensory assault. The breath of the vapor of heated iron fills the air, a suffocating odor. A deeper glow settled each moment in the eyes, and a richer tint of crimson diffused itself over the pictured horrors of blood.
This is the ultimate trap, isn't it? The final inescapable torment. As the heat intensifies, the narrator shrank from the glowing metal to the center of the cell.
And then faded.
The idea of the coolness of the well came over my soul like balm. He rushes to its deadly brink, and the glare from the now enkindled roof illuminates inmost recesses, revealing a truth so awful his spirit refuses to comprehend. He just shrieks, burying his face in his hands.
But the horror doesn't stop there. The room itself. The square room begins to shift with this low rumbling or moaning sound.
Its iron angles become acute and obtuse, quickly transforming the apartment into a lozenge, a diamond shape. The walls are closing in.
The flatter and flatter walls press him resistlessly onward, their center coming just over the yawning gulf. There is no longer an inch of foothold on the firm floor. He's being herded, literally pushed into the pit.
No escape this time. It's the ultimate psychological and physical squeeze. As he tottered upon the brink, he lets out one loud, long, and final scream of despair.
That sound, it's absolute hopelessness, the mind and body just giving up in the face of certain agonizing death. It really makes you wonder, what kind of internal struggle would you endure before reaching that point of utter surrender?
And then, suddenly,
Chaos, a discordant hum of human voices, a loud blast as of many trumpets, a harsh grating as of 1,000 thunders.
the fiery walls rushed back.
Yay!
An outstretched arm caught my own as I fell fainting into the abyss.
It was General Lassalle. The French army had entered Toledo. The Inquisition was in the hands of its enemies.
A last-minute, utterly unforeseen rescue. A truly shocking and sudden reprieve right at the final second.
Wow. So we followed the narrator's harrowing journey, from the brink of sanity through these diabolical tortures, from the psychological descent into unconsciousness to the terrifying revelation of the dungeon's horrors.
The methodical malice of the pendulum, that ingenious, disgusting escape with the rats.
And the ultimate trap of the glowing closing walls, only to be met with that final, unexpected rescue.
The pit and the pendulum really pushes the boundaries of human endurance, doesn't it? Both physical and psychological. It makes you wonder, at what point does the mind truly break under that kind of sustained duress?
Yeah, and what unimaginable lengths would you go to when faced with such methodical, inescapable horror? This story is such a testament to Poe's understanding of terror, not just as a physical threat, but as this deep psychological erosion. It leaves us with a chilling question, really.
What inner resources would you discover? Or would you simply succumb to the terror?
It's a thought that definitely lingers long after the final word. Until next time, keep diving deep.